Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 2. I am Beat O'Brien coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari to depart Abuja to attend UNEP Summit in Kenya, medical checkup in London. Federal government to airlift 2,000 Nigerians as evacuation begins tomorrow. U.S. expels 12 Russian UN staff for espionage activities. Details of these stories and more in a moment. We'll begin the news with a report that President Muhammadu Buhari will depart Abuja today to attend the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the United Nations Environmental Programme, UNEP, at 50. Scheduled for 3rd to 4th March 2022 in Nairobi, Kenya. Reports say the trip is sequel to an invitation extended to him by his Kenyan counterpart, Uhuru Kenyatta, adding that Buhari is expected to depart Abuja today to participate in the environmental summit. The President, Buhari, is expected to deliver the national statement of the country and participate in high-level dialogue sessions on the environment at the event. He will be accompanied by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, Minister of State for the Environment, Sharon Ikeazo, National Security Advisor Major General Babagana Mongono, retired, Director General, National Intelligence Agency, Ambassador Ahmed Abubakar, and the Chief Executive Officer of Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erawa, from Kenya. The President is expected to proceed to London for a routine medical checkup that would last for a maximum of 2 weeks. In another development, the Senate has received a letter from President Muhammadu Buhari seeking an amendment of Section 84 to subsection 12 in the 2021 Electoral Act. President Buhari specifically wants the National Assembly to amend Section 84 to subsection 12, which states that no political appointee shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party for the purpose of the nomination of any candidate for an election. In the letter, he said the amendment was necessary as the clause continues a fundamental defect and leads to the disenfranchisement of political office holders. It could be recalled that President Buhari had on February 25 signed the Electoral Act Amendment Bill into law. Away from that, the federal government will from tomorrow begin the evacuation of about 2,000 Nigerians who have fled the war in Ukraine to neighboring countries. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, who disclosed this in an interview with newsmen, revealed that President Muhammadu Buhari had approved funds for the airlines to evacuate Nigerians. He said there were about 8,000 Nigerians in Ukraine, 5,000 of whom were students, adding that the federal government had tipped Air Peace and Air Max to airlift the Nigerians who wanted to be evacuated. Meanwhile, federal government has advised Nigerians to seek information on the treatment of some diseases locally before thinking of going abroad. According to the government, many of its hospitals across the country are now treating some of the medical issues, pushing some indigents outside the shores of Nigeria. It insisted that the lack of awareness has compelled some Nigerians to seek treatment on certain diseases abroad rather than locally. Elsewhere, the Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria has shelved the plans to shut the nation's ports from today. This follows the intervention of the federal government through the Ministry of Labour and Employment, Federal Ministry of Transportation and Nigerian Ports Authority. It could be recalled that the Maritime Workers Union had on February 14 issued a 14-day strike notice to the federal government. The planned strike was due to the refusal of the International Oil Companies IOCs to allow the Steve Doring Company access their platforms to commence operations. In the meantime, the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, is appealing to Lagos residents to protect road drains and other infrastructures from abuse and damage. Fashola made the appeal during an inspection of the ongoing Apapa Oshodi Ojota Oruwansoke Express reconstruction project in Lagos. He decried the dumping of refuse and drains of the ongoing project and others across the state, soliciting the support of residents on proper waste disposal. The minister said the federal government was including beautification to the Apapa, Oshodi, Ojota, Oruwansoke Road construction project as part of measures to protect Lagos bridges. On judicial matters, Taiwo of the Federal High Court Abuja has granted an order mandating the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) to release the sum of 81.9 billion naira standing to credit of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and its joint venture partners, Mobil Producing Nigeria Unlimited. In its custody to oil-producing communities in Ibono local government area of Akwa Ibom State, Justice Taiwo gave the order in a judgment in a suit instituted by the aggrieved oil communities ravaged by oil spillage. Recall that Ibono communities led by Obong Efyong, Achianga, and 9 others had brought an action against NNPC, Mobil, ExxonMobil Corporation, seeking about 100 billion naira compensation for economic losses suffered from oil spillages caused by the defendants during exploration. And back here to news from the home front, a former Commissioner of Agriculture in Akwa Ibom State, Professor Okon Ansah, has said that one of the ways to reduce food insecurity in the country was for the government to provide services to the farmers. Speaking with Spectrum Television, Ansah, who also served as Commissioner for Commerce and Industries in the state, stated that there was nothing that made a state so vulnerable other than food insecurity. The professor of the plant pathology at the Akwa Ibom State University said that if farmers were given due attention, the state would be capable of feeding itself without depending on external supplies, while adding that agriculture extension was a necessity. Here is more on the story.
Is provide service to your farmers. In the United States, for example, they have effective extension services where people who are trained, government people, they work directly with the farmers. Farmer has an issue, they are there to help him. Does he need fertilizer? Where does he get it? They are there to show him. Okay. He needs, his crop has a problem. What is the problem? Is it a pest? Is it a disease problem? They are able to decide what the problem is and how to ameliorate that problem. There's nothing that makes you more vulnerable than food insecurity. Because if your people can, you see, one of the reasons America can make all of the noise it does and feel so confident, because first and foremost, they can feed their people and have access to give to other people. So first and foremost, you have to be able to feed your people. Akwa Ibom can feed. What are we producing that? What are we eating that we cannot produce? The thing to do is you need a Marshall Plan to deal with agriculture in this state. To deal with the fact that we must be able to feed ourselves. You need a Marshall Plan to do it. You cannot sit down and say we cannot feed ourselves. Buhari is coming from Abuja, Buhari is coming from Benin. How can you do that? How can the people survive? So if tomorrow bandits take over the roads and the Gari doesn't come, what's going to happen? We're going to starve to death. We have land. We'll be starving to death because commodities couldn't come in from outside. I noticed that our extension system had dwindled and dwindled. I'm not sure how much of an extension service we have in place as we speak. We've got.
Still in Akwa Ibom, the South Public Relations Officer of the National Association of Nigerian Students, Utibe Kanam, has asked the Academic Union of Universities, ASU, and the federal government to resolve the strike issues and allow students to get back to school. Ekanam made the call while speaking with Spectrum Television today as he decried the sad condition where the future of students were being negotiated with strike actions, calling on the warring parties to help students resume academic activities. Here's more on this story.
We are suffering the pains. You know, both of them, if maybe at the end of the day, when they are on strike, they are not being paid, we'll be fine. But ASU will be paid. Federal government staff will be paid. Who is now paying the students? We are now the ones suffering. When 2 elephants are fighting, it is the grass. And in this case, it is the student that we are the ones suffering. All we need is return us back to classroom. Just let us go back to school. Let us learn and then graduate on time. Someone is supposed to graduate for 4 years, will now graduate for 6, 7 years. And at the end of the day, when it's time to serve, you say the person is now is above 30 and then cannot serve. For how long are we going to remain at home, like every year strike? So can't the ASU leadership and then the federal government reach an agreement? It must not favor the both parties. We all know it must not favor the both parties. But sometimes you shift ground for these children. You shift ground for us, the Nigerian students, because we are the ones suffering. I talked about maybe students who is staying outside the campus, who is paying rent. Landlords do not joke with their rent. The landlord, they do not care if you are on strike or whatever. You pay their money as at when due. If it is not due, they serve you a quick notice. So we are the ones suffering.
Away from that now, the leadership of the Apex Students Body under the aegis of the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS in Akwa Ibom State, took to the Federal Secretariat along a back road Uyo in Akwa Ibom State to protest the embarked strike upon of the Academic Union of Universities, ASU. The strike action, which is in its third week, has gained traction and widespread protests across the country by students who demand that the government should honor the agreement with ASU for the reopening of schools.
Staff Union of Universities, ASU, embarked on strike following what it termed insincerity on the side of the federal government to respond to the union's demands. In the early hours of Monday, the Nigerian students, led by the Public Relations Officer of the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, Utibe Ekanem, alongside the JCC chairman in Akwa Ibom State, Enetia Samuel, staged a protest at the premises of the Federal Secretariat and blocked the entrance. Placards with inscriptions such as FG End ASU Strike, NANS says no to strike were displayed with chants of Aluta songs. Reacting to the protest, a senior personnel in the Federal Ministry of Education pleaded with the students to remain calm while promising that the issue would be related to the government.
See that you are really agitated, but I want you to calm down. We are interested in your well-being. Nobody is happy about the strike, but Federal Ministry of Education will do something, and you will hear from us. May God continue to protect all of you. Protect you for us, in Jesus' name.
The protesting students asked the federal government to respond to demands and reopen schools.
In another development, Ikotepene Local Government Council says it is aware of the growing rate of accidents along Aba Road in Ikotepene Local Government area, lamenting the risk it has put many of whom ply the roads. Speaking with Spectrum Television, the Director of Works in the Local Government Council, Ime Edet, said the council was aware of the state of the roads. Edet also confirmed that the road was awarded in 2019, but noted that the cause of abandonment of the roads was yet to be ascertained.
A federal road, and anything to be done in that road is to be done by the federal government, of which, by God's special grace, in 2019 they had awarded the contract for the dualization of that road, and even people were sent, valuers were sent to values people's properties, and the enumeration was also undertaken, and whereby people were enumerated, houses that are being affected were also enumerated and valued. But for some time now, we've not heard from the federal government about the road. The Excellency, Dr. Emmanuel, has been crying time without number to the federal government in order for them to come to the head of Ikotepene people because of the incessant accident that have been occurring in that road, because of the narrow aspect of it.
And still to come on our bulletin this afternoon, FIFA and UEFA suspend Russia from the international football competitions. Thanks for staying tuned on Spectrum News at this hour. And now to news from the African scenes, where about 460 Ghanaian students have left Ukraine to Poland, Hungary, Romania, Slovakia and the Czech Republic, following Russia's invasion. Reports say the students will be received by the officials from the country's diplomatic missions, honorary consuls, and officials of the Ghana Students Association. Parents and guardians of the students have been invited by government to meet in the capital, Accra, today.
Right, so the situation is kind of rife now, but we thank God we are safe here. I mean, so we started hearing some sirens around 4 a.m. here, and we have already been told that when it goes up like 3 times, you should just find a shelter. So we are in the shelter here, as you can see, all of us here. And we thank God that everything is okay. Everything is okay, so we are going back to our rooms, and we trust God for what will happen.
Still in Africa, around 30 people were reportedly killed and some others, around 50, were injured when 2 buses collided in central Chad. Reports say the accident happened overnight when a passenger bus was coming from the capital city in N'Djamena collided with a bus from Abuja, the country's 3rd largest town. Secretary of the Department of the Batha West, Abdulaziz Husseini, put the death toll at 33, while 54 were injured. And now to the foreign scenes, where the United States has said that it was expelling 12 members of Russia's UN mission from America for being intelligence operatives. A spokeswoman for the U.S. mission to the UN said those ordered to leave had abused their privileges of residency in the United States by engaging in espionage activities that were adverse to the national security of the country. Reports say the action is in accordance with the UN headquarters agreement.
Today's action has been in the works for several months. The United States informed the United Nations and the Russian mission to the United Nations that we were beginning the process of expelling 12 intelligence operatives from the Russian mission who had abused their privileges of residency in the United States by engaging in espionage activities that are adverse to our national security. So it takes some time to make those evaluations, and that, again, those actions were in the works for a month.
And your response to the Russian ambassador who called this a hostile act?
I think the hostile act is committing espionage activities on our own soil.
Still on news from the foreign scene, Russia's President Vladimir Putin has laid out conditions for ending his invasion of Ukraine as Moscow forces shelled the country's 2nd city and Western nations prepared even more sanctions. Reports say Putin's ultimatum came as Moscow and Kiev held their first talks since the outbreak of war last Thursday, which shocked the world and provoked a massive diplomatic, economic, cultural, and sporting backlash. Elsewhere, an air raid and sirens were yesterday heard again in Ukraine's capital, Kiev, with reports of a Russian strike on the outskirts of the city. The Interior Ministry had earlier reported the death of dozens of civilians in Russia's missile strike on Ukraine's 2nd city, Kharkiv. Negotiators from Kiev and Moscow held talks in Belarus in a bid to end the conflict, and Russia said both sides agreed to continue talking and would meet again in the next few days. Before the meeting, Ukraine's President Zelensky urged Russian troops to lay down their weapons and called for immediate EU membership. On our business news, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC, has insisted that it will continue to develop Nigeria's gas resources despite the exit of international oil companies from the country due to the global push for energy transition and net carbon zero targets. The NNPC's Group Managing Director, Miele Kari, disclosed this in Abuja at the ongoing Nigerian International Energy Summit 2022 with the theme, Revitalizing the Industry, Future Fuels and Energy Transition. This came as the federal government announced that it had established a $50 million liquefied petroleum gas LPG energy fund in partnership with the Afrexim Bank to deepen the use of LPG in Nigeria. Still in business, oil giant Shell has said it planned to sell its stake in all joint ventures with Gazprom after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The announcement came after UK Foreign Secretary Liz Truss said more than 3 million Russian companies, including Gazprom, would be unable to access funding from London-based financial institutions because of the new sanctions. Reports say they would no longer be able to issue debt or equity in London. On our COVID-19 update, 35 more persons have tested positive for the virus in the last 24 hours, putting the country's new total at 254,560. This is according to a daily update by the Nigerian Center for Disease Control (NCDC). Making up the new list are 14 cases in Rivers, 6 in Imo, 4 in Lagos, 3 each in the FCT and Kwara, 2 each in Bayelsa and Plateau, as well as 1 case in Akwa Ibom State. Till date, 249,079 have been discharged, while 3,142 others have died from the virus. In sports, Russia has been expelled from the 2022 World Cup and its team suspended from all international football competitions until further notice after its invasion of Ukraine. FIFA announced this in a joint statement with UEFA. The men's team had been due to play in qualifying playoffs in March for the World Cup in Qatar later this year, while its women's side had qualified for the European Championship in England to be held in July. The announcement also affects Russian clubs involved in European competitions. Still in sports, British Nigerian Lawrence Okoli has vowed to make it right next time after he defended his WBO cruiserweight belt at a comfortable yet scrappy point victory over Mikhail Shileska at London's O2 Arena. The 29-year-old floored the Polish challenger in the 5th round but was not at his fluent best in the bout, where both men continued to grapple and hold. The Londoner now moves closer to a unification bout with IBF champion Maurice Beridis as a possible opponent. And now to racing, where Nigerian international Paul Onucho has been named in the latest Belgian Pro League Team of the Week. According to a post published by football statistics website whoscored.com, Onuachu has the highest rating of 9 points, thus making him the best rated player in the Belgian Pro League Team of the Week ahead of Gang's teammate Brian Heinen, who was a rating of the 8.7, and 27-year-old also topped Gang's charts, winning more aerial duels, 3, and completed 1 dribble and made 4 key passes. Reports say Onuachu scored his side's first goal in their 2-0 victory over KV Kotevjek at the Luminous Arena before providing another fine assist for Joseph Payne-Still to tap in from close range in the 22nd minute. On our entertainment news, Nollywood veteran Kanayo O. Kanayo has marked his birthday today with prayers from himself and his fans. The actor shared a video of himself on his verified Instagram account where he was reading from the Bible in the video. The actor prayed for himself and his fans, stating that God will continue to give them an expected end. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 2. I am Beat O'Brien, thanking you for watching. Do have a good day.